Welcome back, Retromaniac. There is a new video waiting for you. Please enjoy the show.
Hi guys, Dazzy B here. This is my second game review for the Real Retromaniacs, and I wanted to start by saying thanks to everyone who commented on my first vid. It really inspired me to go on and create this one, which I hope is a little more polished and informative. This is Hybris on the Commodore Amiga. Enjoy. For many people like me who grew up in the 1980s, the Commodore Amiga was and still is the coolest computer ever made. Released in 1987, when most people were still tolerating lackluster 8-bit conversions and crappy console games, the Amiga 500 exploded onto the scene with arcade-quality graphics and sampled stereo sound made possible by the use of custom chipsets and its 16-bit architecture. The likes of this had never been seen before. After seeing this machine running in my local computer shop, I wiped the dribble off my chin, sold all my worldly possessions and saved up my dinner money for what seemed like several years to get my hands on this baby. Eventually that day came and my beloved Specchium Master System were tossed out quicker than a piece of meat in a pot noodle. This was the day my gaming life changed forever. Years ahead of its time, the Amiga performed better than any other system on the market and gave birth to thousands of games during its lifespan. I plan to do a full hardware review of the Amiga very shortly, where I'll go into more detail and look at why it was such a groundbreaking machine for the time. If you're interested in finding out more, then look out for that very soon. One of the very first titles I remember playing to death shortly after getting my system was Hybris by Discovery Software. Released in 1988, Hybris is a generic top-down scrolling sci-fi shooter in the same vein as Terra Cresta or 1942. It has swanky graphics and gameplay which would rival anything you could see in the arcades at the time. A few months later it spawned the sequel Battle Squadron, which I will review at a later stage, and I personally regard Battle Squadron as one of, if not the finest shoot 'em up ever made. Anyway, on with the review. Here we go. So, the year is 2461, and while in a scheduled orbit of the planet Jerica, all attempts at communication with an Earth colony on the planet have drawn a blank. Suspecting that they've all long since scuppered due to non-payment of council tax, your long-range sensors have now detected many strange formations on the planet's surface, leading to an inkling that invading alien scumbags might be to blame instead. Sending scouting craft from the Hybris mothership, pilots JP Maverick and K Lovett have explicit instructions to remain on the planet until they find the colony, or more likely find themselves in a body bag after about 5 seconds. It was never clear to me why there were 2 pilots, and it's all standard fare, but thankfully nobody plays shoot-em-ups for the plotline, and after the first 30 seconds you won't really care for the whereabouts of your fellow humans or their impending imprisonment for non-payment of tax. After the program is loaded, the title screen appears and you can choose your pilot by using either the mouse or the joystick to select the appropriate person on screen. Hitting the spacebar brings up the options mode, which allows you to change parameters controlling the level of difficulty of play. Now this game is tough, so I'm going to make things slightly easier in the hope I can manage to show you more than the first 5 seconds. Having all these options is a great touch, and it means you can tweak the gameplay exactly how you like it. Always a good thing when you're as crap as I am. Once you've done this, and like me, made the game as easy as humanly possible, just hit the spacebar again and the program will automatically switch back to the demo mode, displaying the scoring system and the high score table. Press the joystick fire button or the mouse button to begin the game. Okay, off we go. Now during gameplay, pressing enter expands the ship into a new power configuration. You can also perform this same manoeuvre by moving the joystick in a tight fast circle without pressing the fire button, but in reality 9 times out of 10 attempting this simply led me to spiralling hopelessly out of control into the oncoming aliens, so I'd stick with the enter button if I was you. Choosing to keep the ship in one piece makes it more resistant to damage, while splitting the pieces into formation can help to sweep away the enemy forces with a tidal wave of deadly laser beams. The downside of that is that it leaves your main core very exposed and liable to instant death by a single shot, as I found out several times during this review. However, this is quite a nice touch and it adds an element of strategy similar to R-Type, but in practice I found the game was best played leaving the ship in one piece and concentrating all your efforts on simply staying alive. When the ship really hits the fan, pressing the spacebar will release one of your 3 smart bombs, killing everything on the screen, which is not only incredibly handy, but absolutely essential if you have to stay alive for any length of time. Discovery Software have done a great job in keeping the gameplay fluid as you battle your way through cunning enemy formation splits and dodge endless streams of bullets and enemy craft. Many of the attack waves are very reminiscent of Galaxians or Galaga, with ugly yellow aliens splitting into many parts before hovering around the back and shooting you square up the arse. It's fair to say that out of the box this game is pretty tough, but every time you play you get a little bit further in, and although it's hard, the game never feels unfair. This fact alone will have you coming back time after time. Most importantly of all though, Hybris is simply lots of fun to play. You'll fight through endless swarms of enemies, all while pushing yourself to uncover hidden items and build your humble ship into a flying behemoth. Like in Terra Cresta, your ship is highly adaptive, docking with friendly vessels scattered throughout each stage to increase its firepower with the usual progressive upgrades. It has to be said that the graphics in Hybris come close to deserving the title arcade quality. There's a whole lot of orange going on, but the ships have a slick metallic sheen to them that makes the game as a whole pretty attractive and very sharp. Animations are basic but smooth, and the large flashing enemy bullets are an absolute masterstroke by Discovery. You will die a lot in this game, but you sure as hell won't be able to blame it on the fact that you can't see the bullets. The music has that slightly irritating, quivering sound that's all too reminiscent of many European games from the late 1980s, but it's fast-paced and it does add to the intensity of this already demanding shooter. The sound effects are meaty and satisfying enough, but there is little variation, so they do get a tad repetitive after a couple of levels, but to be honest, by that point you'll be eating so much alien lead that you won't really care. Hybris is a great shooter inspired by many classic arcade shoot-em-ups. While it doesn't bring anything new to the table, great graphics and a decent, if slightly gargly soundtrack, along with a ton of options, mean that this is a game that should be picked up by any Amiga fan or shoot-em-up fan alike. The joystick wiggling shenanigans required for splitting your ship can be a little quirky, and the game is a little on the short side with only 5 levels, but its challenging gameplay will keep you playing long after you've finished it, which I never did. It's as much fun now as I remember it back in 1988, and even if your top-down shooter collection is bursting at the seams, you should try and find space for this one. Okay guys, I hope you enjoyed that. I'll be back shortly with some more videos and some more reviews. Many thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. Bye!
That's all we have for today. Please come again soon. Exiting the system. Goodbye.